could start including.
And we could, okay, cool. So,
Do you need to call the meeting to order?
yes.
Extra one, 'cause I already.
To order. Do I hear a motion to? Signify by saying aye. I'm going to do a roll call real quickly. Mr. Carlos Blanco. Margarito Benavides, President.
President.
Luis Ramirez. Okay. Well,
But he's here. I'm
we,
here.
now I need approval of the minutes for the by Mr. Benavides, Onyx, and second by
Aye.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second.
Okay. Dr. King is sponsoring, he's wanting to set up a group of the cities, counties. He's trying to set the secondary water for the drought, you know, the issues. To where we can start meeting as a group. A little flash drive that has pretty much this in there. It's in digital. I didn't want to make all these for that archive, request for information. These are people that are as a region to where we can then leverage our to help out these communities, because wherever there's a drought or an issue, or whatever you know these ideas, but to me, if we have a pipe system, just a thought, so that we can start discussing and developing, because this plan that's the thought behind it. So those are the comments right now. To try to develop. And we'll send out letters of interest to the local communities, school districts. Water plant. It's just this region, the region along the border.
Kind of give you all an update. Last week we did have our budget workshop meeting. It went well. Before on the 5 and 6, but that is ordinance and the public hearing. and then it would have to go for a final reading in the next declined, I guess, but just to kind of give you all a heads up on that, so you could still talk to your just to giving us the permission to move forward with it. But now come agree to move forward with that.
Thank you. Oh, we move.
Well, we don't
No,
present it as a committee. Like
Right,
we-
no, but we move to the council that we were all in, or we were recommending.
I'm not sure if you mentioned it, but we did bring it forward. They made a motion because they are present now,
Right.
introductory ordinance and stuff.
No, I'm not saying but just recommending that the rates stay the same.
They're aware that it's needed. Step one was for them to approve us to in the public hearing and introductory ordinance. So
Yes, I guess what he's trying to say is that, in essence, we're when I was here, and that's good, you know.
I'm gonna stand up and say the introductory ordinance is also being supported by.
I just want to say that Mr. DeCalori, please, walking away. So that's very good, very good.
I want to say thank you, because I know some council members did come talk to me. And I'm glad that that communication has occurred, and thank you.
Okay. Any other,
I wanted to bring up that I'm very proactive. Arturo knows the way, and while I was in planning, on that ID, it stated that I was representing the council now. As someone that is showing that I'm part of to the director or the person in charge. For me personally, to show up and then explain myself 2 or 3 times, they don't know who I am. See? And Mr. Chairman, for that to be looked into it. And if they grant it to me in planning and zoning, I hope the committee. The reason being is that to have the community. And to me, it's very important that I get invited to mention. I'm not as a legislative here, OGD, but I like to be part of that. Say, other than the news that there's always.
thank you. I'll let you.
we do have people that are city to show up in our water and wastewater plants unannounced. And so an ID would be good. I think it'd be good, and that way they go. They just, you know, you've overwhelmed them already. They're already shaking, and yeah, I'll show you anything. Talking to them about that, like, well, wait right here, make sure that you have.
Thank you.
To do, thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Glad that's permission because, like my house. Let Mr. Garcia work on it and we'll figure it out.
In fact, what else?
Give that to my Anyways, well, thank you. Idea. Any other general comments?
Inform the board and for water to communities such as Laredo, not only Laredo, right? That are actually getting the water, that's what I'm doing.
But that they can deliver and how they're going to deliver it and then at what cost. So they're
Applied by the requirements by the EPA and the TCEQ.
yes. Drinking water standards.
Okay, and that will
Do it. And that's I guess
well, the issue is because Texas is it's $20 billion or $200 billion so and I was wondering if since we are in crisis critical stage. Need to be by way of the surplus that the state of Texas has.
You could, let's get into the other item and then you will. And then we, yeah.
Please.
let's have a discussion.
Thank you.
Let me start it by documents. And the companies right now, we have 3 individuals. So, and Legacy is currently, you can see their activity just north. We're 40 wells, 32 wells, groundwater wells, and they'll drinking water standards, and they'll be able to pipe that over to a point where we can how we're gonna my thinking is to set up these tanks because I'm having to flush water out of our system. And deliver it to a location we're getting from this, say, Legacy. I'm just gonna use them as an example. And we mix it, because part of the is there can be things that can happen, there can be different. So we need to see what impact does it have when we put it back into our. We need to look at forecasts as how much water can they deliver. What I don't want to get into is have a situation where we only have one provider, and then that provider different locations, where we'll have one on 35, one on Mines Road. And what ideally I see is these companies are going to start coming out where they're involved to help develop that network. And that's desert-like, we can't put that water in a reservoir because we have tanks. So to me, the future is going to be tanks and pipe systems. Providing comments on what we need to do with the canals. They're starting to pipe a lot of %. So that water is precious. Everything that goes in storage containers, and it's going to be these large tanks that we're going to have that are going to be interconnected to. If regions of the area are having problems, we're able to deliver. Have multiple sources to Laredo, to other regions. That's the vision I have that I'd like to see. If the Rio has problems, we have problems. And if that provider 8 providers, 9 providers. Of course, so they need to have other providers. But if different regions of the state have problems, multiple systems that can feed our location. In fact, I didn't get here, but I have a water in common water distribution systems. This is what this article, because it talks about these are the issues we're going to go through.
Comment, Mr. Garcia. Going back to as an example, and you have providers on Mines Road, and you have work where at any time, if one of them fails, providing water throughout the town. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, it's going to have interconnections in between.
Okay.
And that's what if the county has its plan, I want to have it available so that, there's interconnections, because in the valley, several communities it's applied from an adjoining community. The same thing can be applied overall in this article. When I'm going to give you a copy of this.
Yes.
It talks about the water quality parameters.
Is the cost to treat the water from the river? I guess what I'm asking is, there's a cost to treat the water from the river.
Yes.
There's a. But what, in your estimate, in your opinion, is it? Or is there really
Well,
a difference?
Depends on the source, because if it's surface, it's gonna be similar cost. It's gonna be more expensive. But, hey,
I want to think about myself back in the 70s, going, what the hell am I buy this?
Yeah.
you know, the resource is becoming expensive. It's
Our last comment, Mr. Garcia. So would it be better to send a recommendation to City Council to go with one supplier? Because City Council's
I'd like to, you know, I've talked to agree to it because we don't want to be with one. He
Yes.
has problems. From the committee. That's something that in reviewing the information and representative, council member, you have the same information. The manager last week called me, they were asking questions, what's blending? We don't want to be in the situation what happened in Flint, Michigan.
Right.
To know what's going to happen and how we control it, and it can be managed. And what I see in these tanks, blended water we have, we need to monitor it and see what kind of residuals, and we inject it. Rejuvenating it and blending it with groundwater.
or contaminated.
No, but isolate it and then dump that water if I need to.
I just want to make one quick comment. When I was brand new at the council, and I already told this. There was a man.
Council meeting.
Before city council and the mayor. Mayor. He's got a beautiful idea, and I told him that I hope that if interpretation, I be part of that, you know, regional water district, because, you know, life, and I'm very sad to say that but now, you know, it's hard.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
recanted. Because every meeting, I learned the word adjudicated.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it meant.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be built, all right?
Wow.
So he would bring up the. I reflect back, and he had a vision that none of us did. That man.
No, I will never forget that. So it's good idea. And you mentioned it has abundance of amount of money out there, and then we can. And whatever money. You know, and, I don't know if I'll be able to see it. I started remodeling my house about 2 years ago,
Yeah.
and I wanna wait another. This is getting back to reality, this is very. It's not only worried about Laredo, he's worried about. Or the people that wanna get together will be next week or 2 weeks.
I know we're trying to present as far as these groups. Not just one, but continue to remain. That also is a purveyor, so that's already 4 groups. Is the state helping us build that pipe network? Because we gotta bring. Either way, north or south, or east and west. But we can't go further west, but we. There may be drought in certain regions, like right now.
Up in the Hilton.
They're in state 6.
And also, Mr. Conception as to utility department as far as whether they're doing the job or not. Everybody throws stones at him, not really knowing that. That being said, so what do we need to do? I mean, we need to get. Is the correct thing to do? And maybe every time. Said, look, I was right there and I heard it from the horse mouth. And it's so overwhelming. They're doing a good job.
I just, Mr. Dominguez, let me tell you, yesterday, guys, a friend of mine called. They said, well, when you buy beer, man, you know, what's more.
Well, he has a choice. He has a
Anyways,
But we tell them.
but at the end of the day, yes, we need to. Town hall meetings, and so people could go and they could hear. This is a food, citizens need to be more concerned.
Mr. Blanco, what he brought up, it wasn't so bad. Produce something like that where they say, look, your rate is gonna go down. But it would be great for the community. See. So that was going to be a comment, Mr. Chairman.
Texas also contributes a lot of
back to the state. So the state of Texas is benefiting by all the revenue. Our sister city in Laredo, so we have a lot. Out and we're not producing or giving anything back to the state. We are a production.
Yeah, the key to that money sits there until you don't have the right proposal. So, yeah, I think we've got a job.
And I. And also with Congressman Henry
But
Cuellar.
what I'm not saying that, what I'm saying is, do it not, let me tell you what I think.
That's why, that when I saw your name, not to, you know, but I said,
We're not ready to speak up.
we're, I was always pro-business, because development I remember when Henry Cisneros was in office, Henry Cisneros, he had and I get goosebumps, you know, just I reflect on the past and I just hope that we're all on board. I hope.
Where?
So the source, just put it together. Get it to the council, get it. Let's take some bucks.
It's big steps,
Yes,
but
sir.
we start with the state and the feds, and then hopefully it gets built. From Mexico all the way to go to their is there. Let's just build a network in the state of Texas so Texas takes care of itself.
And sure, we're there to inaugurate. Monterrey would have tried, I mean, because they're La Boca. Knit right up. They had no runoff from. Right
Yes,
now.
and it's what I'm thinking is that it has to be a closed system because of the valley. You see it happening, and I said, well, let's just plan for it.
Got us like this on the water,
Yes.
you know, and so. Water.
any other, I'm sorry, Mr. Garcia.
The legislative effort. I know there's some representatives that are getting in Austin to recognize. I forget who was it that. State legislation for water, and they're being recognized.
Came crazy.
Yeah,
They're retiring.
he's retiring, but he's been
Better.
Yeah.
I think state.
You know, what he saw back in the 80s? Zavala counties and all that, Denver County, Zavala County. They have the water rights. And everybody thought they were nuts. I go, 40 years ago.
it's to promote conservation. We became and it talks about the importance of water, how water's in our lives, you know. It tells you how important water is, and it's to educate the public. Waste it, conserve it. So,
Perhaps we should do something like we would actually go to schools and talk to kids about the gate from the kids at every eating a dead cow. How many eating hamburgers? They don't know about it. They're not dead cows. They come from McDonald's, whatever. So we can't educate older people because they don't be educated. Those are the ones we need to hit schools, and perhaps we can form some kind of a lot of experience, right?
so that entire water and conservation. So, and I kind of want to put one of them.
Be nice.
So any other,
I think that
Thank you. Let's go get that money.
the secondary water source and the overall because obviously three different sources plus the river and some
In fact, that's at the next level when we go update our master plan. It's just started, and it's one because Legacy just came. I need to establish the size of the tank,
right.
you know, and then how do I separate?
City of Laredo's comprehensive master plan. The current model, right, which is we collect water from the river at the two water plants. Right. Now, a question that I had was, from the river, correct?
Our water rights.
Right, and are we also
That's the other program.
yes,
They're planning their irrigation. They need more water.
right?
I've gotten a call from to use effluent water at North Central Park. And their golf course also uses effluent water. So we got those. It has a limited amount.
Right.
I need to system that can carry the water to these locations.
Effluent to be able to resell it.
That's direct auto reuse.
Certain criteria that I can meet, that's where that's the purple pipe.
Right.
And that's where I can use it. I had a meeting just this week with the city manager and the we're not making any money, it's costing us money, and the ratepayers pay for it. So I told him, I need to change anymore. So that's the other. I'm here to make money, I'm just here to cover my costs. And that's.
Be more cost effective to use it for expense to treat it to drinking water standards.
To do that versus just treating all water from the river.
They're almost comparable. It's gonna be pennies. In wastewater, sometimes the people got.
Even though the effluent.
You're gonna think it's water.
Yeah.
Drinking water.
Informing the people that this is a possibility.
Right.
I'm going to be reading that chapter this week for whatever weird reason. About using that reclaimed water, one, to sell it back. The other one was saying you could store it at the lake, but obviously we know that to whatever we don't sell, we can use that to funnel into our
For the
Gonna end
parks,
up-
because I need it at North Central Park, because I always get. There is an economic benefit, or I should say, we need to keep that system going, you know. Irrigation,
Right.
and for the creeks. That's what. It's going to transition,
Right.
because even my flushing. You know, everybody just kind of closed the system. But at the same time, I don't want to throw that water in the ground. In other words,
Right.
give it more life so it can keep going. And I just need to keep this.
And
That's right.
so obviously there's a cost.
Yes, there's. Water, because of all these regulations, because there's other. The thing that's coming in is PFAS. Do we have it in our water? What level?
You know, our world is changing.
Yes.
And this has nothing to do with water. I need to test it, and it tests good. Oh, thank you, Lord. And then it gets.
What the hell is that?
I drank that and my guts. $4.50, and if that's correct, I'm not buying the ranch. I'm like, what? Just crazy. Just to compare something. We are kind of like self-sufficient. The water we sell.
And I think
Double-edged sword.
everyone understands that.
No.
I gotta keep the system moving at all times, because if it stops.
That's why I look like an 18-year-old. Are we all right so far? Okay, any other questions regarding the?
To review it, and at the next meeting, we can have a discussion. And ideally, I would like to kind of start talking to some of the how we're gonna work it into our system. And then from there, we grow it to where, develop the network that serves. It's not something we're gonna see in the next 10 years, it's something we're gonna see.
I'm sorry, would you like a motion?
Yeah,
for this?
whatever.
And bring in different providers.
I think it needs for our support.
Yeah.
So with that, I make a motion that we
sorry.
Make a motion, I would like to make a
But you
comment.
interrupted my vote.
We can go into discussion.
I'll second that motion.
Kind of jump here, or push down the table is, but let's go ahead.
Aye.
Have everybody in the community try and share their ideas about how we can. Not the quality, but the, how to, or the importance of our water.
Before, I think that's already been done.
Okay.
To them, but that's something that ball has been rolling. Right, and she's kind of tasked with some of that. So maybe the thing to do is maybe
Yeah, I'm new to the group, thank you.
No, that's what I'm saying. We want to use social media as much as we. Schools, if we could develop a program for 2 or 3 of them. They used to welcome for us to do that for the.
They're the ones that take 45 minutes.
They'll be 60 years old when they're working this.
The general population, I wanna say they don't care. The only people that really attended were a couple of people complained about their water. Developers, because they heard the word. It just takes a few good people like yourselves. We need people. They just want to complain, you know, they think water should be free.
No, thank you. Monthly, here we get our water. Hard, you know, and those are the comments I tell people, you know. About the water. water, we need the water. Everybody, it's scary, you know, and I hate to hear those. There, you know, and I'm in favor of Benavides,
Yeah.
la difundita, you know, she passed away. Valerico, you know, and she goes, we are the richest state for years, oil and gas, it's just. Then Alaska, I mean, you know, just Texas is so rich. But maybe now it's time for us to get a little. And you mentioned our senators, our reps, you know. So I want to thank each and every one for being very proactive. You know, as a group, I think that we will. Move on to communications, or we're gonna have a. Regarding the secondary work, no? Okay, I'm gonna move on to communication.
I'll go ahead and make the comment that I was gonna make.
Mentioned that you were trying to get. Some,
The region.
the region?
The region? Oh, that like. Motion is on there, Dr. King is gonna have an item on his. And probably will host a meeting or somehow have a meeting to see. Where all these communities can get together and then we can, you know, on the same level, same page. If you all want to be there.
Sit behind you or in front of you, next to you. I know that we haven't done that in the past umpteen years, right? That's what I'm saying.
Well, that's
I see
it.
them on TV.
Yes, you-
It's a city council meeting.
Okay.
With the councilman, and I'm gonna go ahead, I will not. Today, and I'm gonna go ahead and kind of give a briefing on the meeting. And
Seat on each one when I have a chance to talk to them, but I just want to kind of reiterate. But
It's never a problem till it's a problem, right?
Well,
Mike said a while ago, it's trying to put everything together. Just don't want to drop the ball.
Yeah.
So you-
Mr. Blanco, and I appreciate. I like the green.
That's what it's there for.
Yeah.
Anyways, any other communications?
you know, I know one of the devices, the state regulates that, and what I'll do is I'll have our come by and give a presentation, what we do, how many we have permitted. In the class, certification class, and kind of learning.
Well, we're learning.
Plus getting- But,
There's one item, Chair Garcia, that you're aware that I've been that some of the commercial rate is being by homeowners, and they're being hit with the rate. And I would like, Mr. Chairman, if it's, I would like to bring that. I've had communication with Arturo and, that a homeowner living on a complex be paying I mean, if we bring it, then we can address it.
Like, why is it that he's being?
They're multi. Well,
Correct.
for the landlord it is.
Yeah, so I don't think that,
but it's,
Townhomes and condominiums, and they're owned by,
individual
owned by
ownership.
The fact, I'm sorry, Mr. Richard. And the other fact is Rio Marina, and I haven't really been we can try to do something for the community on that issue.
thank you for bringing that up, but there's some, there's some and I have issues with all that because there's a lot of houses, and because they don't want to be taxed anymore. But they live in San Isidro.
Yeah.
Subdivision. You know, but they don't fix their houses. So, you know, we gotta be careful. Things, and I've been addressing it with Mr. Pericoy at the appraisal, that this, you know, we gotta be careful, you know, how we address it a little bit. It's could, you know, it could hurt us, so.
What we could do is
Yeah.
on how we bill. From there, if there is an issue with a particular area.
The issue you're bringing up is not new. Everyone, a 300-unit apartment, they would need to put an individual meter.
If it's gonna be too long, we don't have to bring it for next. We can do
Yeah,
it
because I
again.
think
It's not new to us, all I'm saying is like, that's gonna. Their business is to rent spaces but I want to build their land so that I can have a meter.
Codes to
Anybody,
that.
And it might be a long meeting, and, yeah, we probably need about 3 hours.
No,
Yeah.
you're- There's-
I've had long communication with, he knows what I'm talking about.
No, and I see it, and in fact, has a leak. But the problem, I can't, it's private,
You're
it
right.
has to be plumbed, and it's got all concrete.
It's a private line
No, you
from
fix
our
everything.
public line. So it's into a community that's not owned by. Horrible. They're gonna have more of those because we. How are you, if you don't have a good attorney to make your contract so that they have to fix your lease?
So I get my sewer, it's clogged up with roots. Concrete foundation, anything beyond it, they don't, anything beyond it. Which was minuscule, but see, it's like.
Already seen those problems,
It's
and
not
worked it
good,
in.
yeah.
Anyways, guys,
No,
yeah,
almost so.
well, I wanna make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
I wanna thank each and everyone for being present.